Welcome to section 1 of learning VMware Horizon 7. In this first section, we're going to look at the prerequisites that you need to have in place to install Horizon View. These prerequisites will also provide the foundation to build the lab environment that we will use throughout this course to demonstrate the features and functionality of Horizon View. So what are we going to cover in this section? We're going to start by preparing an example lab that will be used to show you how to install and configure some of the key features of Horizon View. So first, we will give an overview of the example lab environment that you will build throughout the sections of the course and the different components we will be building. This includes the hosting infrastructure, so ESX host servers and vCenter servers, building Windows servers in preparation for the Horizon View installation, and then configure Active Directory for use in the lab environment. Finally, and once we've completed those tasks, we will download the VMware software components ready for installing. So let's get straight into the section and let's take a closer look at the example lab and what you need to set it up if you plan on following the course from a practical point of view. To build the example lab environment, you're going to need the following infrastructure components in place. We're going to need 2 ESX host servers, and in this example we're running vSphere 6.5, but those servers importantly need to have enough resources to run the following virtual machines. Of course, we'll also need some form of shared storage, or a local data store will work just fine if you have enough disk space. So we're going to install 5 Windows servers, that's using Windows Server 2016, as virtual machines, and they perform the following roles. So our domain controller, and in brackets there we can just see the fully qualified domain name of that particular machine, so the domain controller is called dc.pvolab.com. Then we have our connection server, a replica server, a security server, and finally a SQL Express database for the view events. We'll also need 2 vCenter servers. One of these will be used for the management block, which we'll cover what that is later on in the course, and one for the desktop block, so where the actual virtual desktop machines themselves will run. So as we said, we're going to build 2 sets of infrastructure which will basically mirror the Horizon reference architecture. Again, we'll talk about that later on. So the first set of infrastructure is to host the management infrastructure. So these are the connection server roles, SQL database, etc. And the lab environment will look something like the architecture that's shown in the diagram. This will also have its own vSphere infrastructure, so its own ESX host servers and vCenters to manage the VMs for the infrastructure roles. For now, all you need to do is build the OS, ready for installing Horizon. The second set of infrastructure is to host and run the virtual desktop machines themselves. The lab environment will look something like the architecture that's shown in the diagram on screen. This too will have its own vSphere infrastructure, so again, ESX host servers and vCenter servers, but this time to manage the virtual desktop machines and provide features such as cloning technology, for example. For now, you only need to build the actual infrastructure. We don't need to build any desktop operating systems, as we will do this later on in the course. In the next video, we're going to take a look at the VMware vSphere infrastructure and the requirements for the example lab. As this is a Horizon View course, we're not going to cover an in-depth installation of the hosting infrastructure, so no ESX installs and no vCenter installs, but just an overview of what we need to have in place ready so we can start to build out our lab environment.